This video is based on Lingshan Hermit's work Forge every moment in which an affliction arises into an opportunity to understand your own habitual tendencies and latent self-grasping. All rights reserved. Any infringement will be pursued. One day I asked ChatGPT, "What do you think tragedy is?" ChatGPT replied, "Tragedy is when something of intrinsic worth is destroyed. It is when a person or thing possessing worth, dignity, and beauty is brought to ruin by the forces of fate, character, society, or impermanence, and thereby moves one to feel shock, pity, terror, and a profound awakening. Such is the understanding and definition of tragedy held by an artificial intelligence. For a practitioner, however, there is no tragedy greater than this, that they have spent a great deal of time and effort, undergone immeasurable hardship, and performed a great deal of practice, yet in the end, because of the obstinacy of the self, because they received no genuine instruction, or would not accept and could not bear the genuine instruction they received, the Buddhadharma they studied never once, to the end of their days, made contact with their habitual tendencies, never played the role it ought to have played. Their habitual tendencies remained, to the very last, intact and unscathed, as bright and gleaming as ever. Their self, far from being subdued and dissolved, grew, instead more powerful, more cunning, and more adept at concealment and disguise. There are many reasons for this, but the one that plays the greatest part is still the matter of their own character and values. Over these many years I have seen practitioners of every kind, bewitched by their own self, led by the nose by the self, intoxicated, each in their own private illusion. Some are immersed in the illusion that they are the disciple of a great accomplished master, a great Dharma king, and are on the verge of attaining Buddhahood. Others are immersed in the illusion that they practice in accordance with the teachings every single day and are therefore quite fine practitioners. But whether they have a lineage or not, whether they have a teacher or not, these people are, without a single exception, the same. The Buddhadharma they studied has almost never made contact with their habitual tendencies, has never shaken their system of values, has never touched their souls. The Buddhadharma they studied has never once encountered their habitual tendencies. The Dharma and the habitual tendencies, for them, are like two parallel lines extending into infinity, lines that will never touch, never so much as graze each other. Not only does their Dharma fail to touch their own habitual tendencies, it is instead skillfully transformed and co-opted by the self, until at last it has all become an accomplice and an assistant of the self. They have spent untold time, effort, and money, and yet in the end have accomplished nothing in their practice. This is the greatest tragedy that can befall a practitioner. When one considers it carefully, it is because they lack the Confucian teaching, and so from the very outset they positioned themselves wrongly, and because of this wrong self-positioning, they gravely overestimated their own abilities, gravely underestimated the cunning of the self, and underestimated still more gravely the power and the wiles of the demon king, gravely underestimating the difficulty and complexity of practice. There is yet another reason. From the very outset they never truly grasped what the Buddhadharma actually is, what role it is meant to play, and how it is to be practiced. Still less did they understand what it was that they themselves truly wanted. They imagine they want liberation, but the truth of the matter is that they merely want a better and more comfortable samsara, and so they cannot bear the hardship of genuine practice, because it far exceeds their expectations. In the end they can only suffer utter defeat. What the general public commonly understands by practice is sitting meditation, reciting scriptures, reciting mantras, listening to the Dharma, or attending group practice assemblies. In the broad sense, these of course count as practice, but they are not the whole of practice. They are merely the shell of practice, not its core. If you have not undertaken another, more important kind of practice, if you have not practiced upon the mind, then in all likelihood all of these practices of yours will, in the end, degenerate into mere outward semblances of practice. They will become a kind of performance, a performance for your guru to watch, a performance for everyone to watch, and a performance for you yourself to watch. Yourself will draw nourishment from the feedback of this performance and use it to strengthen itself. Compared to sitting in meditation, reciting mantras, and practicing the generation and completion stages, this other kind of practice is plainly more important. It is the very soul of your practice. And this kind of practice never takes place outside. It takes place within you, in the deepest depths of your soul. It is your scrutiny and remaking of your own soul, your thoroughgoing dissection of yourself, your digging out of the roots, your inquiry into your own true condition. This is of great importance. It determines whether you can know where you stand, determines whether you can practice in accordance with the teachings, determines whether, in the course of your practice, you will fall into self-deception. Most people, in truth, have only ever done the first kind of practice. They have never done this kind. What they call practice refers entirely to the first kind, sitting meditation, reciting mantras, or the generation and completion stages and the great perfection, and they steep themselves in this first kind of practice year upon year, almost wholly unaware that the second kind of practice exists, and still less aware of its importance. But lacking this latter kind, lacking an understanding of the self, lacking a recognition of your own true condition, your practice will in all likelihood degenerate into a form of self-deception, a Dharma-flavored self-deception. Because you lack this latter kind of practice, under the exceedingly masterful manipulation of the self, it is very hard for the Dharma to make contact with your habitual tendencies. Under the interference and remaking of the self, your practice will remain at the level of intellectual understanding alone and will be unable truly to prick yourself. Although reciting mantras, sitting in meditation, and attending feast offerings can to a certain degree loosen some of the habitual tendencies, yet lacking any observation of the wiles and workings of the self, lacking any vigilance toward the self, it will be hard for you not to fall into the trap of the self. And all the fruits of your practice will in the end be seized and possessed by the self, brought under the control of the self, until at last they all become the property of the self. If the Dharma has not collided with your habitual tendencies, has not made contact with them, has not ground against them, then the Dharma you have studied is but a heap of useless knowledge, a mere mascot, a merely intellectual understanding. And for an intellectual understanding to attempt to dissolve your habitual tendencies is like trying to kill a bear with a toy gun. For most practitioners, their habitual tendencies have never truly crossed swords with the Dharma at close quarters. On the one hand, this is because you do not understand what practice is. The only practice you know is that most superficial kind. On the other hand, it is because it is yourself that holds the reins of your practice, and not your guru. Yourself long ago polished the Dharma until it was sleek and smooth and wholly without edges, so that it will not so much as scratch yourself, let alone touch your habitual tendencies. Genuine practice, therefore, must rely upon the power of the Guru. A genuine Guru has the ability to turn your life into a place of practice. But whether your life can in the end become your place of practice depends on whether you are able to take the Guru's discipline. To accomplish this, the Dharma must first be truly understood by you. You must understand the whole underlying principle of liberation, must understand what it means to take the Guru as the path, and you must also be exceedingly intelligent and exceedingly perceptive, so that in daily life you can connect the Dharma with the Guru's various acts. Otherwise you will very likely have no idea at all of the meaning of what the Guru asks you to do. No idea why the Guru is forever sending you things that, to your mind, have nothing to do with the Dharma. No idea why you must do those things that strike you as utterly meaningless and a waste of time. To harbor such thoughts is a sign that you are in fact letting slip the very best opportunity for practice. Only those who truly understand the Dharma and truly understand what it means to take the Guru as the path will know the meaning of these things and will not squander these opportunities. They know that the Dharma they have studied is mere theory, that it needs to be forged by a teacher into something that can truly make contact with your habitual tendencies, that it needs to become your daily life, grinding away from your coarsest habitual tendencies all the way down to your subtlest ones. And those seemingly meaningless and very strange things may be precisely what is grinding away at your habitual tendencies, grinding away at your arrogance, grinding away at your self-righteousness, grinding away at your temper, grinding away at your every should and should not, grinding away at the things you consider right, the things you consider worthwhile, the things you consider not a waste of time, grinding away at all of these notions of yours. Only in the hands of a guru who is truly possessed of a very high realization, of experience, and of fully sufficient compassion can the Dharma be applied to you in this way, dissolved into the interactions of daily life, used to grind away at your habitual tendencies. If it does not pass through the hands of the guru, the Dharma is but dead knowledge upon the page, of no use whatsoever to yourself and your habitual tendencies, because the guru is a living person, a living embodiment of the teachings. He will tease you, he will toy with you, he will provoke you, he will arouse your jealousy and your competitive spirit, and he will also hand you a snack to eat. He can make you, in each present moment, behold your own smallness and shallowness. He can make you discover your own selfishness, your own pettiness and narrowness. Behold your points of attachment. He can let you experience how deeply your habitual tendencies and your greed control and constrain you. And he can also let you catch a fleeting glimpse of your own luminous nature. Were you left to practice the Dharma on your own, you could not discover these things in 1,000 years. Your system of self-deception would explain everything away as perfectly reasonable. What it does best is to explain every matter in a way that satisfies itself. It is just as a knife cannot bend back to cut itself. Neither can you apply the Dharma to your own self. In the past, many people told me they had no opportunity to practice, but that was in truth only because they did not know how to use these opportunities to practice. As I said just now, those who know how to practice can, in every interaction and in every word exchanged with the Guru, behold their own problems. I am by no means encouraging everyone to use the present moment of contact with others as an occasion for practice, for this is simply not something an ordinary practitioner can do. It requires an exceedingly deep practice and capacity for contemplative awareness. As for those who have a certain degree of experience in practice, they in fact need not worry about lacking opportunities to practice. The deeper your practice goes, the more you will be able to discover opportunities for practice in your interactions with others. In the beginning, the moment you let down your guard, you will be carried off by your habitual tendencies and will let the opportunity slip past you. And that is because you have not yet established the habit of observing your own mind. Sometimes the habitual tendency comes on so swiftly that you have no time to react at all, and so, in the instant an affliction arises, you cannot see your own mind, cannot follow it to find the root of your own suffering, cannot forge each arising of an affliction into an opportunity to understand your own habitual tendencies and your latent self-grasping, and still less can you appreciate that all of this is the magnificent display of awareness itself. When met with another who negates all the efforts they have made, ordinary people are usually wholly taken up with flying into a rage, wholly taken up with brooding on how the other has wronged them, wholly taken up with dwelling on their own grievance and on how they might refute the other. A practitioner, however, has the opportunity to turn all of this into practice. If we are skilled at practice, we can, in the collision of the self with the Guru or with others, find the source of our own suffering. We can forge each contact with another into an opportunity to understand ourselves. Even if you cannot be with the Guru every day, you will every day be with other people and in contact with other people. And you can begin with the Guru and practice forging all of this into an opportunity to understand yourself. In that very moment you will see the solidity of the self, will see how the self dodges and evades, will see how the self makes excuses for itself, will see how unwilling the self is to quit the stage, and will come to understand how hard it is to take even that one small step forward. These are things you ordinarily cannot see at all, because you deceive yourself, you conceal, you are bewitched by the self. And so many of your afflictions and your deep-lying self lie hidden in the silt at the bottom of your heart, where you cannot see them in the least. Only when a stranger inadvertently splashes juice onto the new coat you have just bought, or when the person you care about most says to you, "You are not so clever. You are really quite ordinary." Many of your judgments are wrong, only then are they provoked into the open. And when they are provoked into the open, whether you prolong it and turn it into fodder for samsara, or forge it into a tool for recognizing the self and understanding your own latent habitual tendencies, forge it into an opportunity to understand all sentient beings. This is what determines whether you continue to revolve in samsara or set out upon the true path of attaining Buddhahood and liberation.